Hello friends, today we're going to be talking about why you need to say no to almost everything, to almost everyone, if you want to live a remarkable and fulfilling life that is true to you. I'm always surprised to see how people give their time and energy away to certain people, to new projects, to new lovers, to new ideas, philosophies, whatever it is. They give their time and energy away to these things without any thought. They're not doing it consciously. They're doing it unconsciously, just giving their attention away. And guess what? Our most valuable assets in life is our time and energy. Oftentimes, people talk about your time is the most valuable commodity. It's your most valuable asset. But there's also energy, especially mental and emotional energy, that is also extremely valuable. And you don't want to give your energy just to anyone. So I would put those two together, time and energy. You want to understand where you're putting your time and energy and why. And we're going to talk about this from a few different angles so I can really get this point across. But that's the first thing you need to understand is you need to start valuing your time and energy and start really thinking about where you're giving your time and energy, who you're giving it to, and all that kind of stuff. And of course, the reason you're giving your time and energy away to these things that aren't actually important to you is most likely you just simply can't say no. Before we get started, if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, like this video, share it with a friend, and let's go. Recently, I was actually watching this movie called Mr. Nobody with Jared Leto, and it was a somewhat philosophical movie. I'm not a huge fan of that movie. It was all right, but it does have some philosophical ideas in it that I found interesting. And it's really about how an older man is looking back at his life and reminiscing all the different decisions and moments, all those big decisions that he made, and how he could have, just by him making a different choice or a different decision, would have completely drastically changed his life into a completely new direction. And just think in your own life, some of the decisions that you've made. I mean, you know, it's like you present it with two roads. One goes here, one goes here. And that one decision, for example, a very big decision, for example, like marrying someone or not marrying someone, that will impact your life tremendously years to come, possibly a lifetime to come. Or let's say you're done with your relationship and you're contemplating a divorce or something like that. Again, that one decision will determine how the next, 5 years of your life is going to look like. So what career path you're going to take, what friends you surround yourself with, what people you interact with. Some of you, I'm sure, have some kind of a toxic friend that you've been friends with for years, who is ruining your life emotionally, maybe physically too, mentally, emotionally, especially draining your energy, draining your time, and only because you can't walk away. You can't say no. Yeah, and that's the whole point of this video is we're going to be talking about, you do have the power to say no to the things that don't fulfill you, to the things that don't inspire you, to the things that don't excite you, to the things that, quite frankly, drain you. So, yeah, I just found that movie interesting in Mr. Nobody because you want to start thinking of your life as just a series of major decisions that you are making. And guess what? Oftentimes, you will have to say no to a lot of things in order to get to the yeses. Often, the reason why we can't say no to certain things is because we feel guilty. We want to fit in. We want to be a good person. We don't want to rock the boat. Yes? But for me, for example, as I'm getting older, I'm much more comfortable to saying no to things that aren't aligned with me. And I recommend you start doing the same thing for you, because think of your no simply as you standing up for what you believe, for your values, for your preferences, for the things that you care about. Yes? So whenever you're saying no, you're creating room for a yes. And even if you don't have a yes, at least you are not just going with someone else's idea of what you should be doing. You're actually standing up for yourself and what you want. Now let's talk about people. Whenever somebody wants to meet up with you or hang out with you, it could be a friend, it could be a potential lover, they want your time. You need to start asking yourself questions like, are we aligned? Are we on the same page? Are we meeting up with the same intentions? Do we want the same things? You need to start analyzing and examining your interactions with people, because it's easy to say yes to everyone. It's easy to not rock the boat and just go along with things. Yeah, that's the easy path. But when you take that path and you go along and start hanging out with people who aren't aligned with you, you're going to feel like crap every time you're near them. You're going to feel misaligned. You're going to feel like, well, I should be doing something. I could be doing something else. You're going to feel maybe a visceral gut feeling that this is just not right. We're not on the same vibe. We're not wanting the same things. And you're essentially just making yourself miserable being there in the company of someone you don't want to be around. Simply having the response of, no, thank you. No, I'm actually busy. Actually, no, I don't want to do that. It's perfectly okay. There's nothing wrong with you saying that. And oftentimes, if you're not sure, you need to tune in into your intuition, into your gut feelings that are always giving you information. Our body is always leaking information about how we feel certain things. You just need to pay attention to your inner voice, and it's going to tell you whether something feels good or bad, whether you should say no or yes to something. And whenever you feel like something isn't aligned, don't be afraid to lean into the no. Now, the problem is that we are so societally programmed these days. We're watching way too much information. There's all these books. There's all these YouTube channels. You can learn anything these days quickly too. And we consume all this information. It gets downloaded into our brain. And guess what? We get programmed with all kinds of ideas, beliefs, and things we should and shouldn't be doing. And so sometimes our inner voice just gets kind of muted over time. So we're unable to even know if we should be saying no to something. We think, we should be saying yes to this person or to this networking event because, last week somebody told me, hey, man, you got to start networking with people. Like, what does it even mean? Why are you networking? What are you trying to achieve? Why are you going to go around with these people? What's the purpose of what you're doing? And if it's not aligned with you and your intuition is telling you, hey, this is probably not a good idea, just say no. Another way you can think of it is when you're trying to make a decision is think, is it a hell yes? Otherwise, it's a no. So when you're going to go hang out with a friend, or you're going to start a new project or do this new hobby, is it a hell yes for you? Like, yeah, I want to do this. This is exciting. If it doesn't feel like that, why are you just going along for the ride doing things that are mediocre? One of the reasons people have a hard time saying no to others is because we all want to feel good about ourselves, and we kind of want that external validation that we're going to get by saying yes to people, saying yes to everyone, trying to please them, make the situation all right, even when it's not, for example. Yeah, we pretend. Yeah, we're being fake. And And it's all because we're afraid of saying no. And it's because we want that external validation. But what if you were to get to a point where you didn't need external validation? What if you were internally validated? You just felt good about yourself. You didn't need to go and do something to prove to yourself or to others that you can do it all and you can be it all. What if you were internally validated, not needing anyone's approval? You're so confident that you can choose to say yes or no to anything, and you are still not losing your confidence. You are still intact with who you are, and other people can talk all they want about you, but they don't know you, right? And so that's true confidence. It's having that internal validation, not external validation, where you're putting up appearances. You're showing up at a party just to show up, to prove to yourself and to others that, I'm this cool person that can go there. You know what's cool is being able to say no when you don't want to go. That's cool too. You want to have your own principles for why you do what you do, why you interact with the people that you do, why you choose the work projects that you do. You want to know why you're doing all these things. You need to know the why behind why you're doing anything. That is crucial. And I'm going to be talking about the why a little bit more in a moment, but also make sure you check out my video where I talked about how to find out your values. That's a great video about how to discover your own values so that you know what you stand for, what you like, what you don't like, what your preferences are, what you tolerate, what you don't tolerate. Yeah, that video is really good for that, because this is very much all intertwined together about saying no as well to the things you are not aligned with. You want to be a person of focus. You want to be a person that knows who they are and what they're trying to do in life. You want to be extraordinary. And there's a saying that in order to be a 1%er, you need to do what the 99%ers aren't willing to do. So if you want to be like everybody else, go do what everybody else does. But if you want to live the 1% life, then you're going to take actions that from the outside might seem a little bit strange or weird or unorthodox. But that is what it takes. Part of this also is that if you start saying no, you're going to feel uncomfortable and you're going to make other people feel uncomfortable. You're going to be turning some people off for sure. But that is okay, because remember, this is your story. This is your life that you're living. And again, you don't want to be externally validated. You want to understand what it is that you're trying to do. Moving forward, there's also such a thing called opportunity cost. And that is that if you're spending time doing one thing, during that time, you could be doing something else, right? So, for example, on a Friday night, let's say you have 3 friends that call you. They want to meet up with you or hang out with you or do something with you, or you've been invited to, 3 parties, whatever. If you go with John's plan, that means you cannot go to Mark's party, okay? So you have 3 options. You're gonna have to choose one of them, and that means that you're giving your time and energy to one person, and that means you're not giving it to the other 2 people that invited you. So again, who are you gonna give it to? You're gonna have to get aligned with who you are and what you want, which will help you to make that decision. Same thing if you're starting some new work project or you want to start a new business, and you already have another work project or business that takes up, let's say, 20 hours a week of your time. Whatever else you're going to be piling on to your schedule is going to take, let's say, another 10 or 20 hours. So you want to be really diligent with your time about what it is you're going to start anew, right? So if you're going to start that new business, you're going to have to be really picky which business you're going to take, because you can't do everything. If you add one more to your plate, that's it. You cannot have 3, 4, 5 businesses. There's only so much time, energy, and focus you can maintain throughout the day and to give to all these different businesses and projects. So every decision that you make, what business to start, you're going to have to also count how much time and energy that's going to take. And so you're going to have to say no to a lot of things in order to do the things that you really want to do. Every decision you make has consequences. Me living in the USA has pros and cons. If I didn't live here, I could have lived in Thailand, which would also have pros and cons. Me working one job means I can't do another job. Okay? Me being with this person means I'm probably not going to be with this person. Okay? We can't do everything. That's unfortunately how it is. So you have to be choosy. You have to be discerning. As I mentioned earlier, the why is really important. This is something that a lot of people are completely unconscious of. The why behind what they're trying to do. What is the intention? Okay? The clearer you become about your intention and the why of what you're doing, the more fulfilled your life is going to be, the more on purpose you're going to feel, and the more aligned you are going to feel with your values. One of the businesses that I started is called Back Intelligence. You can look it up. And I'm very clear on the why behind starting this company. The why is to empower individuals to treat their own back pains from home using natural methods, as well as help them fix their postures from home. And guess what? I don't even have to justify this to myself every day. I feel inspired. I know why I'm doing it. I have the intention of getting up in the morning and working on that business to help move me forward into my why. Yes. And so that's how you should be approaching new people, new businesses, new projects. You want to understand the why. And if the why doesn't inspire you, doesn't propel you, doesn't push you forward to really go for it, then you probably should say no to that and keep exploring, keep searching. You don't want to just do a bunch of stuff. You want to also take some time to search for the right stuff to do. Okay? There is, that school of thought that, you'll learn by doing. Yes, but also there is the other thing that shouldn't be ignored, and that is sometimes you need to know what to even do, right? And which takes time to discover, to search, to find out. So keep exploring your options as well. That is still very important. And say no to things that don't align with you. Another reason why you need to say no is to make room for the yeses in your life. You first need to let go of the past, of the things that aren't aligned, so that new opportunities, new energies, new frequencies can come into your life. So many people live in the past mentally, right? They're here, but they're really thinking about, something that happened 5 years ago, and they're, unable to move on. So by you saying no to some of those past things, you're creating your new future. You're creating your new identity, a new path forward that is going to give you fulfillment, that is going to be the path that is true for yourself. And so by you hanging on to the past, by saying yes to a bunch of stuff that no longer aligns with you, like let's say you had some childhood friends that right now, if you met them, you wouldn't be able to relate to them. But back then it made sense. You don't have to stay friends with them. If you can't relate to them, if you don't enjoy it anymore, you don't need to trying to be a good person by hanging out with them. You really don't. You can just say no. And guess what? You can find new friends that are aligning with you right now at the life stage where you're at right now. That's the whole point, is find the things that are aligned with who you are in this moment instead of things that are aligned with you yesterday, or things with were aligned with you of how you were 5 years ago. People do mature, values do change. We don't necessarily change at our core, but our values do change. Our maturity level changes. We know much more what we want as we get older and what's good for us specifically. And so the things that, worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. So you're going to have to say no to a lot of things that no longer work for you. And that's real courage. There is a book related to this. There's several books related to it, but the one book that's very much on point about talking about some of this is by an author called Sarah Knight, and it's called The Life-Changing Magic of Not Giving a Fuck. Excuse my language. And it talks about how most of the time we're unable to say no to things out of guilt. And she has an amazing exercise in that book. She also has a TED Talk, by the way. You can check it out if you don't want to read the book. That's one of my favorite TED Talks about this. And she talks about basically taking the time to visualize yourself whenever you're about to commit to something, to make a new decision. Let's say somebody invited you to a party. Don't just say yes right away. Take some time to process in your own body and your soul whether you actually want to go to that party or not. So visualize yourself how you're going to feel when you enter that party and you see some of the people that you know are going to be there. Are you going to feel good about it, or are you going to feel like crap about it? Okay, so if you visualize yourself and you're like, this is going to be terrible, why would you go? Again, most of us do it because we feel guilty and we want to pretend to be a good person. But by you going there and not enjoying your time, like it's hard to be fake. It's hard to be inauthentic after a while. So when you go to that party, you're not actually enjoying it. People are going to catch that from your vibe anyway. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to get you new friends. You're not going to have any fun. So take some time to visualize before you do something about how you're going to feel. How does it making you feel when you imagine yourself being at that party? And a lot of times that will tell you, it's like a predicting mechanism whether you should be going or not, right? If it doesn't feel good in your imagination, it's probably not going to be great in person either. So next time you're about to say yes to something, just take a pause, take a breath, visualize how you're going to feel doing that thing. Does it inspire you or not? And if it doesn't, do not be afraid to say no, my people. All right? What do you think about this? I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Leave a comment below. Again, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.